Okay, good. I'm gonna. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, brother.
The audio is good.
Yep.
All right. So I'm gonna share screens with you. It's right here. Can you see that?
Yep.
All right, good. Let me see if I zoom in for you. Let's see. So I went through the Hebrew alphabet, did lots of study. And so what I have right here is Aleph in the square Hebrew. So you got the square Hebrew column right here, Samaritan Hebrew column, Paleo, or the original Hebrew column, the Greek column, and then this is my last column, the pronunciation of the original Hebrew as I believe it to be. So as I told you the other day, I drew this. I drew these lines in the document. This is not a font that I found.
Okay.
So let's see, how should I say this? So I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. You can still see that fine?
Yep.
Basically, you're gonna look at the Greek alphabet and you're gonna see it looks very similar to the Paleo alphabet. So you've got the A right here, and there's the A, the B, the G. That's gamma in Greek. That's just looks like just like that. The delta, A, that's the epsilon, upsilon. This is zeta. That's Zion. Het. This heta, and that's het. Theta, thet. And this is I forgot the Greek for that. But so this is yod, kappa, kaf. Yeah, the Greek names even correspond too. So you know the Greek letters are the same letters as the Hebrew because it's the same names. Kappa, kaf, lambda, lamed, mu, I think, and nu. This is so some of the names don't exactly correspond, but a lot of them do. So let's see. I'm trying to think what is the this one in Greek? Do you remember?
Isn't it the like the Yoda or something like that?
Oh yeah, Yoda. Yeah, so Yoda and Yod. That's obviously it's the same. So you've got the mem, the nun, samek, and that's the Greek. It's like a C in Greek. This is pe. This is pe. This is pi. Omicron, or this is ayin. Sadi. This is san. It's a Greek letter that used to be there, but they stopped using it. This is kof. This is also like kaf or something in Greek. Resh. And this is rho. Shin. This is sigma. And tav or tau, and the same thing. So you see the clear correspondence. The letters look so much identical. The sigma, the Greek sigma, the Greek S looks exactly like the Paleo Hebrew there. The R looks the same, the Q's, O's, P's, everything. Pretty much an exact correspondence. The Samaritan is more somewhat similar, but it's more scribbly, more cursive-like. And this final one is the one we're all familiar with, and it's the one we all know super well.
Yeah.
Of the pronunciation, which one would you say you're not sure about? Which letters? So let's see. Aleph.
Okay. Well, the Aleph, I'm pretty positive that that letter has always been the letter A and had an A sound to it as an ah or ah. But with the KH, that's a question I have. Where you get the KH
Right.
sound that comes with it, like because you have two sounds for it, right? The ah and the ch or something like that, or the k.
Right. And what about bet?
Yeah, and also for the bet, I've always understood that one to be a B, and you also have it as a P. So I would also like to know where you got the P from, because I think it was the letter pay, right, that made the P sound in the Hebrew that I always
In
thought.
the normal Hebrew people teach it's the pay, right?
Yeah.
Now you're fine with this one. You don't have any issues with this one.
No. As far as it goes, it's the G, and then you have the Dalet, which is the D. Everybody agrees on that. No one argues with that. But then you get to the Hey, and everybody seems to argue with that one, saying that it's the Ha, or has a Ah to it or something with the AH. But like you said, you have the letter which corresponds to the Greek upsilon, and you have the letter which clearly looks like an E, and then you have other Semitic languages which go back and they all have it as H, but you have explained before that it was originally E, and it also had an H, but it was like a soft H, basically, where it wasn't even really pronounced when it was at the end of a word, which you can explain more. But first of all, I think if you want to touch on the whole KH for the Aleph,
Sure.
and then we can
Let's
just
go
go
through some
on.
of. Let me quick. Let's do a quick overview of the rest of these. Like, so what about wa? Are you pretty much in
Um,
agreement on wa?
yeah, as far as it goes, like it seems like the faster you would put certain letters combined, you always get it sounds like a kind of a short wa sound, like almost like a soft wa, like if you were to have Aleph, Lamed, Wa, Hey, and you have A-L-U-E, and you say it, you still kind of get that W sound. It'd be like Alua,
Right.
Alua, and you still get that we sound kind of. So it seems to me that there was most likely a soft W sound that letter still gave. Even with Jehu's name, if you have Yod, Hey, Aleph, you would get something like Ua, and you would still have Yoa or something like that. So
Right.
it seems to me that it's both U and W.
Right. All right. Good. And then Zion, you're good with that one.
Yep.
Het. What about that one? I have that as an H.
Okay, yeah. So the het, you see in the modern Hebrew, it seems like with dotting or something, I think they can even change it to just a normal H, right?
I think they do something similar to that. Of course, we know
Yeah.
the vowels were not the vowel markers were not originally there.
Yeah. And it does look like the H, the letter H in the ancient Hebrew language, and you know when you would say brother or sister in the Hebrew, it's almost for me it's like, how would you say that in the ancient Hebrew then, seeing that it's just the letter H? Because in the modern you would have ach or achut. And it's funny because a lot of people will say that ch sound is Yiddish because it comes from Yiddish, those hard sounds that sound like you're about to hork or something, spit. But they will say that that's Yiddish, but yet they will still pronounce it as ach and achut, or however people pronounce it in the modern Hebrew.
Right.
But I can see where the H came from. Like it's so clear to see that letter. It looks like an H, and it's probably where the letter H came from in our English alphabet.
Right. Hold on 1 second here.
Okay.
Okay. So did it switch screens for a second, or was it always still focusing on the same screen?
It quickly switched screens there for a quick sec, but nothing that was serious.
I was testing to see, and I was trying to make sure we're still recording. So
Okay.
yeah, you can do this up to 8 hours. You can do 8 hours straight of recording stuff if you want. So that's
Wow,
pretty good.
that's good.
Right here, this is Thet, or yeah, Thet, and I have this. These are two English letters that used to be used in the English language. They're no
Yeah,
longer
I'm
used
not
anymore.
familiar. I'm not familiar with those whatsoever. As far as I know, I always believed it to be like th or something like that.
Yeah, these are both th. This is the th of like a sound, like teeth, teeth. This is a th sound like the or loathe.
Okay.
It's a slightly different th sound. Now, what about yod? Are you okay with yod? Pretty much, you agree?
Yeah. And as far as it goes with the yod, I'm pretty sure that most people who study the Hebrew language, they believe that the yod is both y and I, because even people who will use the pronunciation of Yahuwah, for instance, they will go to things like right?
Yeah,
They will still use it as a vowel I that gives that e sound. So when you have, for instance, in the Father's name, you have the yod being the I and the hey being the e that gives the s sound. So when you put the e and you say it kind of combined, you just combine it very quickly, yeah, then it becomes yeah, and that I no longer has the e sound, but it takes on the y sound, yeah. So yeah, I believe that it's both I and y.
all right, good. K, L, M, and N, you're pretty much all in agreement with?
Yes, and clearly you can see by just looking at the ancient Paleo Hebrew and at the Greek that they both agree. You got K, so clear, and you got the L, and you got the M, which is like upside down with the stem, and you got the N. To me, it's very clear that K, L, M, N, and I'm sure everybody who studies the Hebrew would agree on that also.
All right, good. And then this one, I think we know that it's questionable. Of you're not sure about is the Samic, right?
Yeah, like in the past, like Samic was always understood to be as an S, right? And then you would have the sheen to be the SH sound. But even with the vowels, if I'm correct, if you have a dot on the right of the sheen, it becomes SH, and if you have it on the left, it just becomes an S.
That's
So
for
it
later
seems,
on for this one.
yeah, yeah, and it seems like they can switch the dots to make it from the sh sound to just the s sound, the s, sound, and so with the whole Sonic one, it could have been that they replaced the two. I'm not sure.
Right. Now, and this one, as we talked about, you thought you've been told it's P, but I have it here as V, and then also F.
Yeah, and that's
And
a questionable one too that I have. Like, where do you get the VF idea from?
right, and then here I have O, that for ion, and this is like a GH. So do you agree with the O part, but you're not agreeing with the GH part, or you're also not sure about the O part either?
Okay, so the GH part is also supposed to be for the IN.
Yeah.
Um, I heard from a brother that I think it was the Yemenite Hebrew or something that had that as also like a guttural GH sound, where it's kind of like a or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly, but it does look like an O when you look at it for sure. And like I said before, a lot of times you can't go exactly by looks, but the case is here is that a lot of these letters in the alphabet, in the ancient Hebrew alphabet, that people can agree on, they look like what they are. Like the nun looks like an N, the mem looks like an M, you know, the lamed looks like an L, the kaf looks like a K, and everybody can agree on that. But when it comes to the ayin, everybody, you know, they debate on it, and some have it as another A. Well, we don't need a bunch of A's. We already have the aleph, which is an A. So why should we have to have the ayin being another A?
Right.
And
And if hey is an A too, like you know how they say like
yeah,
So if we got aleph, hey, and ayin all as A's, it doesn't make sense.
yeah, and then you got this ridiculous Hebrew called the La Shawan Kadash. Very ridiculous. Like it's not ancient whatsoever, and it's totally made up.
Everything's A in it.
And everything is A, and then and the only vowel that they really will use is the I, and they will say that's for the I in because you know the I in it's you know, which is really ridiculous. When you know clearly you got to still look at where alphabets originated from and where the English came from too, because the English had to have come from somewhere, and most people, and I think even Hebrew scholars, can agree that the aleph gave way for the English A, and you know, and that the ayin was where the English O came from.
Absolutely. That's what you'll see in dictionaries. You'll see that.
And it's funny because I've gone on other sites to research this whole Hebrew matter, even about the Hebrew letter Hey, and they will all say that the letter Hey actually is where the English E came from. They will say no, it actually was where the English E came from, but at the same time they'll say it's actually the H though, you know?
Right.
So they will tell you things like that. That the English letter E came from the letter Hey.
Right. Yeah, let's see here. So what about this one, Tzadi? I have it as ZH and a J. And you can see the Greek looks similar to it. It's like an M as well.
Okay. So
Let's see.
the Zadi was originally in the modern Hebrew. What was that again? Was that the one that was the Z?
They say it like a TS.
Okay, like a TS. Okay.
It's this one right here.
Yeah. So for me, usually I would have went with a TS for that one. So if I was to have Zion, I would have said it like Siun or something.
Yeah. Let's see. What about this one is Kof? We're pretty much in agreement on that, or you're not? Well, I have it here as Ch. It can be. I have it as K, K, and Ch.
Okay. Yeah. As far as it goes, I'm not sure about the ch part, the TCH part at the bottom, but as far as the Q part, yeah, I know about the Q anyway, and it does look like a lot like a Q for sure.
Yeah. The R, where I'm sure we're in agreement with the R. The
Yep.
S, we already talked about. The
Yep.
T, what about that? You pretty much in agreement with me on the T?
Yep. The T, yep, is where we got the T from, and you got the actually, yeah, the sheen is actually, by what I know, is where the S actually came from too, and it kind of makes sense. Like you said, you got Q R S T, and then in the English alphabet, you also got Q R S T.
Right. You got it right here. You've got A B G D E E F. Wait, what's the English alphabet? I don't even remember. A B C D E F G. Okay, right. H I. Then there's the J.
Yeah.
K L M N O P Q R S T. So you see it's right there. And then the U V how in the English alphabet it goes U, V.
Yeah.
That's in the Greek alphabet. Right after, upsilon comes, and then phi. And instead of basically upsilon, it gets moved to the end in the Greek alphabet, and in this place is put digamma, which looks exactly like an F. So that's pretty much where our alphabet comes from. And then you've got the W, X, Y, Z. But so let's see here. We're gonna read some of this. And at any point, if I say something you're not sure about, just let me know. So,
Okay.
so I start saying there were thus three main scripts, these ones, for
Yeah.
the Hebrew alphabet as presented above. However, in the Dead Sea Scrolls was found special cryptic or secret scripts. It is unknown when these secret scripts originated, but they used different letter signs to convey letter values. In certain instances, using the first letter of the alphabet in the place of the last letter of the alphabet, and the second letter of the alphabet in the place of the second to last letter of the alphabet, and so on and so forth. The same concept is attested to by the Jews with what is referred to by them as atbash. Atbash, because the A is used as if it was a tav, and the B is used as if it was a shin, and vice versa. They call it atbash, and it's using the alphabet, same spelling the words, but replacing them with the opposite letters on the end of the alphabets. So they use this in the Dead Sea Scrolls. They use that idea, and they also used a couple other cryptic scripts. So that's kind of interesting. But so I say all of these scripts diverged considerably in appearance via various means such as cursive forms and other quick and messy forms of writing as compared to careful and organized forms of writing. And I say the names of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet are as follows. Then I say it should briefly be noted. In Hebrew, words are read from right to left, not left to right as in English. The Ge'ez, or Ethiopian language, and the Greek language were also originally written right to left in ancient times. I got that information from actual scholars. It's not me just making that up. I've read from the scholarly people. These are the top scholars. These aren't just nobodies, So that's what they say. They say the oldest manuscripts of Ge'ez are right to left, and the same thing for Greek. But later on, it started being copied the other way. So I say, eventually people switched the order and began writing the words left to right. And it is because of the Greeks that this left to right order, which we use today for English and other Indo-European languages, originated. On rare occasions, Hebrew was written left to right, and sometimes boustrophedon, alternating between left and right every other line. But this was never the norm and failed to reach widespread usage. Again, I got this information from scholars, top scholars. I read in Gesenius's grammar, how on rare occasions Hebrew was actually written left to right, and sometimes alternating between left and right on each line. And the Indo-European languages, as you know, those are all the Latin, Greek, Germanic, English, all that stuff. Then here's the names of the Hebrew names of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Aleph, Beat. So I give it in the newer, and then I give it in the Paleo. But I use the script you're used to seeing. I don't use this because I actually remember I told you I drew this. I didn't want to keep drawing it over and over again.
No.
So I just used the font for this. So you'll see it. No, it's a little bit different. More curvy, more slanted, more messy.
Yeah.
So Aleph, Beat, Gimal, and you can compare Aleph versus Aleph, Beat versus Bet, Gimal versus Gimel. You see, you can hear it. You hear it sounds very similar. Here's a Dilat versus Dalet, I have it as ha versus hey. Then I'm woo versus wa. Then here's zine versus Zion. So here's then heat versus het. Het. That's the KH sound that I use right here, that I've told you about. The KH sound. Theet, but they do it as tet or teth. Here's yud, they say yod. I say kif, they say kaf. Here is limad, they say lamed. Then mim versus mem. I say noon, they say noon as well. And then I say shemak, they say samek. Then I say va, they say hey. Then I say oin, and they say ayin. But you hear oin. Oin sounds very similar to ayin. And then I say jidi, jidi. They say tzadi. Then I say kuf. They say kuf. I say ris. They say resh. I say sin. They say shin. I say tu. They say ta. So then I say these names of the Hebrew letters are corroborated by the Septuagint and in Greek transcriptions dating from the 5th century BC. So I have read. In other words, so there's in the Septuagint, these letter names are found, and apparently there are Greek transcriptions dating all the way to the 5th century BC. I read that in Gesenius, the scholar Gesenius. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's what he said, so I trust what he said.
Okay, so the 5th century BC, which?
That's like about 500 years, 400 to 500 years before Christ was born.
Okay.
So what were you gonna say?
So with the one for the hey letter above there that you had as ha, where did you get that understanding from, that it's basically like ha sound or something? Because
right here.
No, for the letter hey.
Oh, hey, ha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I say ha. They say
Okay.
hey.
Okay.
Because I pronounce the hey as a H in this example.
Okay. Because with the alphabet there and the given that a sound, almost thought it would be a or something like that.
Right. But you know how you mentioned earlier how yod in certain instances ceases to be a I and actually becomes a Y?
Yeah.
I use a similar reasoning principle for every single one of the vowel letters. So in the same way with this, woo, it's sometimes a oo sound, but sometimes it comes in just a W sound, only a W. In the same way, same thing for ha or hey. Normally it's a S sound, but sometimes it becomes an H only. Same thing with aleph. Normally it's the A, but sometimes it becomes the KH. And then ayin, sometimes normally it's the O, but sometimes it becomes the GH. So yeah, that's kind of how I'll explain that in a little bit. Let's see here. I say, however, it is unclear whether or not these were the original names of the Hebrew letters. For example, in Ge'ez, which is an ancient language derived from ancient Hebrew, instead of noon, fish, we see nehas, snake. There are also discrepancies that occur when comparing the names of the Greek alphabet with the names of the Hebrew alphabet. We showed those, like upsilon. That does not agree with woo or wa. So some of the names might be different in the originals. Who knows?
Okay.
Now, so here's what I say. You're going to see for my rules of Hebrew, it's very what's it called? Mirrored. So the letters all work the same. So you're not going to see the rules being all radically different from each letter. It's going to follow a very similar principle of reasoning. Okay, so here we got A is an apple when preceding a consonant or ending a syllable. KH as in cat, when preceding a vowel except when forming a diphthong. Then B as in banana when beginning a syllable. P as in pizza when ending a syllable. I'm going to try to give my justifications for some of these in a little bit. G as in grape. D as in date. I'm using food names if you couldn't tell. Hopefully you won't get hungry.
Okay.
E as in egg when proceeding. So once again, look, I'm doing the same thing. I'm saying the same language as for each vowel. So E, it's like an A. E as in egg when preceding a consonant or ending a syllable. H as in herb when preceding a vowel except when forming a diphthong. Okay, and then I say for wa, U as in juice when preceding a consonant or ending a syllable. W as in water when preceding a vowel. Z as in zucchini. H as in honey. TH as in thistleweed when beginning a syllable. TH, different sound, as in seething when ending a syllable. I as in spaghetti when preceding a consonant or ending a syllable. Y as in yam when preceding a vowel. So it's the same as wa. You see, the same language is being used for both. Okay, the same language as right here. B when beginning a syllable. P as in when ending a syllable. It's the same you see right here. When beginning a syllable, when ending a syllable. Okay, so K as in kamut, L as in lamb, M as in milk, N as in nut, SH as in sheep when beginning a syllable, X as in bird shoulder, D and SH together, a single sound when ending a syllable. So like ch or j. It's hard to say it. Bird shoulder, bird sh. Okay, and then V as in vine when beginning a syllable, F as in flower when ending a syllable, O as in orange when preceding a consonant or ending a syllable, GH as in ye when preceding a vowel except when forming a diphthong. So that's the same thing you've got right here. Same language being used. So you see it's a harmony. I'm not just making I'm not randomly saying things, but it's following a pattern of classification. The three vowel letters go the same. Wa and yo, they're the same category as well. They all go similar. So ZH as in measure when beginning a syllable. J as in jelly when ending a syllable. Q as in barbecue when beginning a syllable. C as in cheese when ending a syllable. R as in row, S as in suit, T as in tea. Now, something I want to show you interestingly is let's see here. You'll notice, like, look, so see here, th and the. It's a harder sound, right? It's a harder sound, th and the. Same thing right here, b and p, harder sound. So the harder sound goes at the end here. Then you've got sh and j, or ch. It's hard to say it, but that's a, or maybe it just should be like an X sound. But so that's a harder sound right there. F, V, so that's a softer sound. V, v. F, f, that's a harder sound. Same thing right here. You have j, and then you have j, harder sound. J. Then you have k, k, then a harder sound. Ch. So you see it's a pattern here. I'm arranging it in the same pattern and stuff. So if I'm wrong and it should be P when beginning a syllable rather than B, then the same thing for all these. I would be wrong about this. It should be the when beginning and not when ending, and th would be at the end, and the same thing for for V, it would be F when beginning a syllable and V, and for J and J, it would be J when beginning a syllable and then J, and same thing right here, Ch when beginning and K when ending. So it has to be the same. It has to be either, since it's the same classification of sounds or same classification of letters, it has to either be all of them in this order, or it has to be switched. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So now, let's see. I say in Hebrew, 2 consecutive vowels can also form diphthongs. That you find that in Greek and Latin as well. It's a rule of languages. So diphthongs are when 2 consecutive vowels come together to combine into a different sound than they otherwise would be in. A diphthong in Hebrew is always only 2 Hebrew letters long, and in order to form the diphthong, the second letter must be either wa or yod. That's how it works in Latin and in Greek. The same thing. You're going to find diphthongs in those languages, and the only way to form diphthongs is with those 2 letters. Hold on. Okay. So now, hold on. Someone's talking. Let me just say. Let me see. Okay. So you still there?
Yeah.
All right. Good. All right. So here's what I say. The following are diphthongs. You'll find this in Greek and Latin. Okay. So here's the AI, as in pie. Notice that this I sound, AI, is composed of 2 distinct letters, aleph and yod. To understand why the sound pronunciation of a diphthong is what it is very easy to discern the origin of it. In this case, pronounce the first letter. You get the A sound, the A in cat. Pronounce the second letter, and you get the E sound, like the E in teeth. Now, say them one after the other, but distinctly. Now, say it right now. Try to say A and E. Say it slowly at first, and then say it quickly.
A and I.
Say A and E together, but say it
I.
at first. Say it
I.
separately. Say it separately. Like just say it. Say the A and then the E after, and then put it together.
I.
Yeah.
I.
So you see when you say like A, E, or I, it rolls together to form the I sound. Do you hear that?
Yeah.
So I say now say them one after the other, but roll them together, not taking a stop to breathe or to give silence, but to flow the 2 together, link them. You will hear how the A and E, when you roll them together and do not enunciate silence between them, will form the combined sound I as in pie. And that's how it works in Latin and Greek. Same thing here for A, EI as in grape. Notice that this EI sound is composed of 2 distinct letters, hey and yod. In this case, pronounce the first letter, you get the E sound, the E in leg. Pronounce the second letter, and you get the E sound, like in the E in teeth. Now say them one after the other, but distinctly. E. So, try to say that right now. And then E.
E. A. A.
So you see it comes to form the A sound, as in grape. So when you roll them together and do not enunciate silence between them, when you don't take a stop to breathe or give silence, but you flow the 2 together, it will form the combined sound EI as in grape. You've got the same thing for oi, O and E, as in soy. Pronounce the first letter, you get the O sound as in cone. Pronounce the second letter, and you get the E sound like the E in teeth again. Now say them one after the other, but distinctly. Oi, oi, oi. See that?
Yeah.
Oi. Now say them one after the other, but roll them together, not taking a stop to breathe or to give silence, but to flow the 2 together. And you will hear how the O and the E, when you roll them together and do not enunciate silence between them, will form the combined sound oi, as in soy. And you do the same thing for the wa now. It's the same thing for the wa, just as in Greek and Latin. So, ow, as in cow. So I say, let's see here. You get the a sound. You get the oo sound like the oo and moon. Now say them one after the other, but distinctly. Ow, 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 ow. So you hear it sound.
Ow,
It
ow.
rolls into ow. Then here it's not. It's these. I found these to be harder. These are harder to hear, in my opinion, because I'm not used to them. Because I don't see too many English words using it like this. But and these aren't. I don't think. I don't. This one perhaps might. EU might be in Latin. OU might be in Greek, but these are not both used in Latin and Greek. So but since we have for the diphthong these three used, and since the diphthong also uses this, for consistency and completion's sake, we have to assume that there's also a diphthong for this as well, and this as well. So EU as in wood. So I say like u, it's like a sound, like in wood, or hood, good, took, look. And then down here, the OU, I say as in bun, because it's like a O and a U. It's like a on. You hear that? It's like a own. It's like a sound. So you roll them together, and it kind of sounds like the U in nut. Okay. Because why is this the case? Because remember, Hebrew has to be the perfect language because it was the language of creation. But the perfect language has to cover all the vowel sounds. So right now, so far, what I've done is showed you how all the vowel sounds can be covered through the letters. The only two vowel sounds we have not covered yet are the I sound and the ah sound. And we will cover those in a moment. So that makes sense. That makes much more sense than what other people are saying, because I'm using other languages to show the principles. You've got the diphthongs, which all languages have. You've got each vowel letter has its unique sound, and it's not multiple vowel sounds for each letter. It's not the same vowels for multiple vowel. Excuse me. It's not the same sounds for multiple vowel letters. Like, it doesn't make sense. As you said, to have 3 different A's, it doesn't make sense. So right here, thus the Hebrew alphabet consists of 22 letters. All 22 letters have a consonantal value. All 22 letters can be consonants. That's what scholars say. The scholars say Hebrew is the only alphabet. Hebrew and the other Semitic languages are the only alphabets where all the letters are consonants. While that is true, they are wrong that Hebrew does not have vowel letters. They are wrong. And many scholars agree that originally those letters were vowel letters. Some of those letters were vowels. So I say 5 of the letters also have, and predominantly so, a vocalic, in other words, vowel value. So I say these 17 letters always and exclusively so are consonantal in value. So none of these are vowels. We agree on that. None of those are vowels. Yeah. There was some debate amongst, in former times, I was considering the possibility that het was a vowel, but I no longer think that.
The thing is if you just have consonants the whole time, then you end up with that whole Lashawan Kadash Hebrew where it's like Yahweh, Yahweh, Yasharallah, grab your umbrella, you know, type of
right.
thing.
Yeah. in the Greek, the het or the heta, they pronounce it as a vowel. So that's why originally I considered the possibility that this actually might be a vowel like the Greek, but I changed my mind on that. So now I say these 5 letters are usually vocalic in value, but are occasionally consonantal. They're consonants sometimes, and sometimes they're both vowels and consonants at the same time. These are the vowels. So I say these 5 letters can double in sound as both a vowel and consonant at the same time. So I give my own examples of Hebrew words and how I pronounce them. So I say right here, this I say bakha.
Okay, back.
I say the reason. Yeah, bakha. Right here, you see it?
Yeah. Okay.
Bakha, the bet, aleph, hey. So I say the reason is the letter aleph ends a syllable, but also precedes a vowel. And remember I told you the rules up here? How it says, when it precedes a consonant or ending a syllable, it is to be pronounced like this. When it's preceding a vowel, except when forming a diphthong, it's pronounced like this. Since it's doing both, it's to be pronounced as both. So you double it. You say baket. And then for this, same thing. It's the same principle. Lehap. Lehap. So le, e, you hear the e sound, but then it also doubles as a h. Lehap. And then here, roget. Roget. Try, because see, watch. Look, if you try to say this, how would you say this without my principles? How would you say this? You'd say like ba'a, ba'a, right? It doesn't make sense, right?
Okay, so
it doesn't sound good. Like, try to say it, ba'a.
Yeah, bat.
And then right here, ro'eh, ro'eh. It sounds strange, but when you say it fast, you just said it quickly, ro'eh. It sounds like there is a sound there that's supposed to combine them together. And so I believe the aleph has that KH sound. I'll explain that a little bit as well. The E, the hey has the H sound, the ayin has the GH, so it's roge, roge. And then right here, lua. It's lu, the U sound, but it also doubles as a W. So lua. And then right here, same thing. So ki, it's the E sound, but it doubles as a Y. So kia, like the car. No, I'm just joking. All right, so the original pronunciation, I say, of Hebrew was altered over time due to dialects developing, and this eventually led to the creation of Aramaic. Aramaic started out as a mere dialect of Hebrew, but eventually became a distinct language. All languages start out like this. They start the same. Over time, dialects develop, and then eventually they're so different that it forms a new language.
So I have a question also. Like with that Ethiopian, it was an Ethiopian language, the Ge'ez, right? The Ge'ez alphabet.
Yeah, Ge'ez.
Ge'ez, I guess.
Yeah.
Was that like a alphabet that originated from Hebrew too? Like it came from Hebrew or was corresponding to the Hebrew?
Yes, but I think they added a couple letters or something.
Okay, because I took a look at that one and it also had like all the letters were similar to what the when you look at the Hebrew, like the wa, or they call it like the wewe or something, and you had a W, and then you got the ha was also an H and stuff like that. So
it's a Semitic language, and it's a close ancestor, or it's a close relative of Arabic.
So would that originally also had the sound of EH, and then it just later became H, or what happened with that language?
For gays, I'm not sure. I don't know the full pronunciation method of gays, but
okay, because it seemed like it almost looked similar to like it had some like stars and ha sounds and wa sounds and whatnot when I was looking at it, but
right, it's the same basic alphabet.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So I say right here, there are many dialects of the Hebrew language that developed, but they are all primarily variations of a single ancient Hebrew dialect, that being the Aramaic Hebrew dialect. I say the following is a close approximation of the original Aramaic Hebrew dialect, which the various Hebrew and Aramaic dialects still closely follow, more or less. So I took the pronunciation values here that I did, the rules I did, and I switched them up. I reversed them, and by reversing them and switching a couple around, I was able to come up with basically what Aramaic sounds like. So or the rules the Aramaic follows. So right here you've got, for Aleph, you've got that as an A, an E, an I, and a KH as well. You're going to have Aleph. According to the scholars, Aleph is a guttural sound, they'll tell you. It's like it's an H type of sound, they'll say. Like a sound, a gut sound, you know, like
like gluten.
Yeah. So they've got that understanding there. Then we've got the B and they have the V. Then G, D, and right here you've got the E, A, I, and H sounds for hey. For Y, you've got the U, ow, W. And as I said, there's some slight differences in other dialects. Like, you know, you've got V sometimes here, but V is a very late rendering. The ancient ones don't have V for Y. Then you got Z here and J. And so in Aramaic, this can be Z and J at the let me see, what did I say? I said up here, where was it? So when preceding a consonant or ending a syllable. So it's Z when, no, wait, no, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Z when beginning a syllable, ZH when ending a syllable, okay? So when beginning a syllable, when ending a syllable. So this is the Aramaic. When beginning, when ending.
All right.
KH, they do this pretty much as KH. Then they do this as a T in Aramaic. Then and all the basic dialects similar to it. For Yod, it's E, I, A, Oi, and Y. All those sounds. Then K, L are the same. M and N is the same. And then you've got S. Then you have. Remember before I had V and F.
Yeah.
And I had B and P. Well, I simply replaced them. I moved the V here, and I moved the P here, and that's what it is in Aramaic. It's the exact same. So then, for Ayin, it's O, E, I, A, G, H, J, D, Z, H. And then right here, for T, what you've heard, what you said is TS. I say they do it kind of like DSH and TCH. So like Z or J. It's hard to say it. So TCH, ch, and then J. It's hard to say. Which sounds very similar to the TS. And then Q, pretty much the same. R, they say SH when it begins the syllable, S when it ends the syllable. And then TH, th, and TH, the when beginning a syllable, and just a T when ending a syllable. Like Shabbat, T when ending a syllable. That's an overview. Not all dialects do this, but it's a generality. You can kind of sum up all the different dialects with this rule I just gave here. Then I say also diphthongs cease to be pronounced in the Aramaic dialect. Eventually, some of the speakers of the Aramaic dialect of Hebrew started writing the Hebrew letters as they pronounced them rather than the original letters that were to be used. And they also began replacing feminine forms with neuter forms. This resulted in the creation of the Aramaic language, from which all other Semitic languages are derived. The creation of Aramaic thus resulted in feminine forms being replaced with neuter forms, loss of neuter signification of words, loss of the etymological value of the letters, radical changes in pronunciation, and radical changes in spelling words. There also occurred loss of the aorist past and aorist present tenses. That's a theory of mine. I have a theory that this once existed. So then I say, archaic vocabulary words from Hebrew, which speakers no longer desire to use, I should correct that, often were dropped entirely. making major holes in the linguistic database of the Semitic languages. This hole being filled partially with loan words from other languages. So, let me see here. So this is confirmed by the scholars. We have not everything here, but most of what I said here is confirmed. Like they don't say, they say there's not really any diphthongs in Aramaic. They say, and this is clear how Hebrew words, there's the same words occur in Aramaic, but they're spelled differently. Just like we have in English, we have H-O-N-O-R. In England, we have H-O-N-O-U-R. Same thing for color. There are different ways of spelling it. They're spelling it as they're pronouncing it. So that's what they start spelling Hebrew words as how they pronounced it, because the pronunciation changed, and that means the spelling started changing for these words. So that's why some of the Aramaic words, they're the same words, but they have one or two letters differently. So we see right here, the following peculiarities occur in Aramaic and in late Hebrew. We say late Hebrew because there are late Hebrew documents which have the same features as Aramaic sometimes. See, the following peculiarities occur as a language decaying from its state of perfection that it had in Biblical Hebrew. So addition of letters to words such as aleph and shin, addition of R and L in the middle of words. We see that sometimes, especially in Aramaic. Addition of N in words. Then we have omission of A and O. This happens a couple times in the Dead Sea Scrolls, apparently. Transposition of letters. You write the letters incorrectly in the wrong order. Sometimes that happens, later, especially in Aramaic. The letters are in the wrong order of the Hebrew words. Change of B into P, because B and P sound so similar. They changes. Aramaic sometimes spells it with a P instead of a B. Change of Sadi or Jidi into ayin. You know the word aretz, earth, in Hebrew?
Yeah.
That's in Aramaic. It's spelled arrow with an ayin. But guess what? They're pronouncing ayin as a J sound. So they're pronouncing it as an arij. Sounds very similar to aretz. Aretz, arij. So Aramaic over time, it changed the jidi into ayin. And then change of shin into samak. You can understand why that is, right? Because they started pronouncing shin as a sh, so they started writing it as this instead. Okay. And s, a change of z into d. They changed it sometimes into d. Because they were pronouncing d kind of like a z sound, like a d and a z together. Then change of j into like a the sound, j and the, very similar in sound. Here we have, and also ts might be changed into a t, s and t. Change of s into t. Like Shabbat. They sometimes say it as. Let me think here. Sabbath. They say. Have you ever seen them say Shabbos? Shabbos. Have you heard that?
I've heard of something like that before. Yep.
Yeah, Shabbos is some dialects pronounce the tav as an s sound, and that's because they're pronouncing a t as a th, like a th. And when you say s and th, it sounds very similar. Like try to say applesauce, but instead of saying sauce, say th. Applethought. It sounds like an S. So they changed their S into a TH sound and started writing it as a tav instead. Same thing here. G they started spelling it with a K sometimes, and D they started spelling it with like a DH sound, like a the, and also a T. D and T sound very similar. And then K changed into Q. because you know how in modern Hebrew the Q and the K kind of sound almost identical, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of why the change happened there. And then L sometimes into R. Like if you try to say really, are you kidding me? Really? Try saying riri, you know, like the L and the R. It's very similar in sound. So let's see here. I say there are many other examples of alterations of letters over time from the original Hebrew into the Aramaic and other languages, dialects of Hebrew. But these that I gave are the most common alterations that can be observed between the original Hebrew language and the latter Aramaic language. I got all these from grammar books that other people wrote, not myself. So I know this to be true from scholars who know the languages. So then I say, an example of this phenomenon of alteration of spelling occurs in Judges 12, 5-6. The Gileadites took the passages of Jordan before the Ephraimites, and it was that when those Ephraimites which were escaped said, "Let me go over," that the men of Gilead said unto them, "Thou an Ephraimite?" If he said, "Nay," then said they unto him, "Say now, Sibalit," and he said, "Shibalit," for he could not frame to pronounce right. Then they took him and slew him at the passages of Jordan. And there fell at that time of the Ephraimites 40 and 2,000. Notice that S and SH were confused in pronunciation. The Hebrew text, I think I made a mistake there. I once included the Hebrew text, but then I removed the verse, but I forgot to remove that clause right there. I included the Hebrew of Judges in my first edition of this. So see how I say right here, Sibalit and Shibalit? According to the other people, they say Shibalit here, and then they say Sibalit. So they have it reversed. I think they're wrong. I think it's Sibalit changed to Shibalit, and I think the pronunciation that they're using right now in main Hebrew is the Ephraimite pronunciation. And here's why. I say this is classic Aramicizing of Hebrew. Thus, in Aramaic, S came to have the value of SH, and SH came to have the value of S. This confirms the idea that the original pronunciation of Shin differed from that of the Aramaic pronunciation. In the Bible, Ephraim was part of the northern kingdom of Israel, and the northern kingdom spoke a dialect of Hebrew much closer to Aramaic, whereas the southern kingdom of Israel, Judah, continued to speak the original Paleo Hebrew more or less up until the time of the destruction of the first temple. But after being captured by the Babylonians, who spoke Aramaic, most of the exiles lost the original Paleo Hebrew understanding, and they adopted the pronunciation of the Babylonians. Okay. As the Aramaic dialect developed early on, the speakers of the Aramaic dialect of Hebrew also started inverting the order of the letters of Pei and Ayin to Ayin and Pei. The original order of the Hebrew alphabet is found in the Hebrew Bible, in the acrostic or the alphabetic poems of the Book of Lamentations, chapters 2-4. And it's also found in chapter 1 of Lamentations in the Dead Sea Scrolls copies, which means that scribes later on in chapter 1 of Lamentations, they actually changed it to put it to the correct order in chapter 1. The original version of Lamentations had the reversed order, the Pei, then Ayin. And also Septuagint of Proverbs, chapter 31, has the reversed order. But in our copies, the Hebrew copies, it's in the more updated alphabet order, OP, but in the Septuagint it's PO, which is more compelling to be the original reading. So then I say also, in all known Israeli alphabetic lists, which predate the destruction of the first temple that have been found, when it preserves Ayin and Pei, Pei always comes before Ayin. So far, without exception. And there are a good number of alphabet lists found before the destruction of the first temple, which preserve this Pe and Ayin. So I say the following quotation from Jewish scholar Mitchell first shows that all Israelite lists of the Hebrew alphabet found, which predate the destruction of the first temple, preserves the order of Pe first, and then Ayin, rather than Ayin and then Pe. So I have this quotation right here. It says, in 1976, a potsherd was discovered, 5 lines of Hebrew writing on it, one of which was an abecedary, and an inscription of the letters of the alphabet in order. In this abecedary, the Pe preceded the Ayin. And then it says, in 1975 to 76, a jar fragment which had 3 Hebrew abecedaries, in which the Pe precedes the Ayin. This site dates to approximately 800 BC. The first one was 1200 BC, so these are really ancient. 2005, a Hebrew abecedary inscribed on a stone was discovered at Tel Zayit. 10th century BC, and it says, this abecedary also followed the order of Pe preceding Ayin. Then, in recent years, another ostracon with 3 Hebrew abecedaries with Pe preceding Ayin has come to light. Its provenance is unknown, but the writing can be dated to the late 7th or early 6th century. Supposedly, they say it was found in the debris of the Temple Mount. So I say the abecedaries mentioned above are the only ones that have been discovered in ancient Israel that date from the period of the Judges and the First Temple, and that span the letters Ayin and Pe. Pe precedes Ayin in every one. As we have seen, these abecedaries come from different regions in ancient Israel, not merely from one limited area. All of this suggests that Pe preceding Ayin was the original order in ancient Israel. That's a quotation from some guy who wrote a very interesting article that I read, and I'm convinced that that's the case. Now, are you still with me?
Yep.
All right, good. In determining the original pronunciation of the Hebrew alphabet, we can use the alphabet. Almost every single language's alphabet is derived from the Phoenician Hebrew alphabet. The following quotation illustrates this most effectively. I quote this from Wikipedia. So it says, Middle Eastern descendants. The Paleo Hebrew alphabet used to write early Hebrew was a regional offshoot of Phoenician. It is nearly identical to the Phoenician one. The Samaritan alphabet used by the Samaritans is a direct descendant of the Paleo Hebrew alphabet. The Aramaic alphabet used to write Aramaic is another descendant of Phoenician. Aramaic being the lingua franca of the Middle East, it was widely adopted. It later split off due to political or power borders into a number of related alphabets, including the Hebrew alphabet, the Syriac alphabet, and the Nabatean alphabet, which in its cursive form became an ancestor of Arabic, currently used in Arabic-speaking countries from North Africa through the Levant to Iraq and the Gulf region, as well as in Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and other countries for other languages. The Sogdian alphabet, a descendant of Phoenician via Syriac, is an ancestor of the Old Uyghur, which is in turn an ancestor of the Mongolian and Manchu alphabets, the former of which is still in use, and the latter of which survives as the Xibi script. The Arabic script is a descendant of Phoenician via Aramaic. The Coptic alphabet, still used in Egypt for writing the Christian liturgical language. Coptic is descended from ancient Egyptian, is mostly based on the Greek alphabet, but with a few additional letters for sounds not in Greek at the time. Those additional letters are based on Demotic script. And now, derived European scripts. According to Herodotus, Phoenician Prince Cadmus was accredited with the introduction of Phoenician alphabet. Phoenicia, which is phonetic or phonic, and then phonics, phonics, and then grammata, Phoenician letters. So why did I say phonics. That's stupid. Sorry, my bad. This is Phoenician, and then grammata, letters.
Okay.
To the Greeks, who adopted it to form their Greek alphabet, which was later introduced to the rest of Europe. Herodotus, who gives this account, estimates that Cadmus lived 1600 years before his time, or around 2000 BC. However, Herodotus's writings are not used as a standard source by contemporary historians. The Greek alphabet is derived from the Phoenician alphabet, and then a little bit later it says the Cyrillic script, that's like a Russian one, was derived from the Greek alphabet. Some Cyrillic letters, generally for sounds not in medieval Greek, are based on Glagolitic forms, which in turn were influenced by the Hebrew or even Coptic alphabets. The Latin alphabet was derived from Old Italic, originally a form of the Greek alphabet used for Etruscan and other languages. The origin of the runic alphabet is disputed. That's English and German, runic alphabet. And the main theories are that it evolved either from the Latin alphabet itself, some early Old Italic alphabet via the Alpine scripts, or the Greek alphabet. Despite this debate, the runic alphabet is clearly derived from one or more scripts which ultimately trace their roots back to the Phoenician alphabet. And finally, Brahmic scripts. Some historians believe that the Brahmi script of India and the subsequent Indic alphabets are derived from the Aramaic script as well, which would make Phoenician, Paleo-Hebrew, the ancestor of most writing systems in use today. So that means we can use the alphabets in pretty much every language, except like Chinese, to know what to use to help us figure out the original pronunciation of the Hebrew alphabet. Since the Hebrew alphabet is the same alphabet that all languages that we use pretty much have. So now I say that these facts can most readily be demonstrated by comparing the Greek alphabet with the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet. As we did before, we compared the two, and let's see here. Okay, and now here's the English, and compare the English. Look, this looks like a C, by the way. The G, it looks like a C. So you go D, E, U. It's all the same, even in English. It looks the same exact as we went through before. So now I say right here, notice that the Greek, English, and Hebrew alphabets have the same correspondence. I give the letters right here. Same correspondence. Striking. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Striking correspondence. Hold on one second. So some of this stuff I can skip. Hold on. So I say you can see that the letters in the Paleo-Hebrew look strikingly similar to the letters in the Greek and English. The striking correspondence with the standard order of the Hebrew alphabet, the order with O first and then P afterwards, enables us to determine that the English alphabet is derived from the Hebrew alphabet. That being the case, let's ask ourselves, what is the pronunciation of the letter Aleph? Well, in every language that has its alphabet derived from the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet, A is A. So why is it that the letter A in Hebrew is not considered A as well by the scholars? It doesn't make sense. It's clear that from the correspondence of the Greek and English alphabets with the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet, that the original pronunciation of the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet was A. And when we do this comparison for every letter of the Hebrew alphabet, we see that every letter of the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet, as well as the proper pronunciation of those letters, was usually preserved more accurately in the Greek and English alphabets and languages. I say, you can see clearly with the above table that the Greek alphabet and English alphabet closely matches the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet. This means that it is absolutely valid and accurate to make identifications of the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet with the Greek and English alphabets. These identifications can be made via letter order in the alphabet, as well as shape and appearance of the letters compared to the Paleo-Hebrew originals. And then I say the following information makes for a compelling identification of the original pronunciation of the letters. I say all scholars in all languages which have their alphabets derived from the Phoenician alphabet essentially agree with the following identifications for the original pronunciation of these letters. Remember we discussed this earlier? All these letters we agree on, right?
Yeah.
So this is the first half of the letters. That's 11 letters right there. Half of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet are without controversy as to the original signification and sound and pronunciation. That just leaves the remaining half, the other 11 letters. So I say the following letters pronunciation is with controversy, but their current pronunciation is close to the original. That would be B and P versus BV. This is the and the, not T, H, not KH, SH, X, not S, VF, not PF, J, not C, S, not
Well,
SHS, T, and not THT. What were you about to say?
there's like with the a lot of the people that you know, they begin to understand that the ancient Hebrew and even the Dead Sea Scrolls didn't contain the vowel points, right? Like
Right.
those nikud or however whatever they're called, and they will begin to take certain nikud away, and you know, for Torah they will pronounce it as Torah, and for Shalom they will say Shalom, and they will have that U in there, and they will say because of the Greek upsilon, right?
Right.
But when it comes to the letter Hey, then you know they differ on that, and it's like, well, you know, if you're saying that the Greek upsilon is where which became of the Hebrew Wa, then you should be open to the Upsilon, which is the letter E. Instead of saying Tura, saying Ture. And the thing is even though a lot of people, they'll say that they take the vowels away from the language to get their pronunciation, they still are keeping certain vowels, because you have to have the vowel, I believe it's the kamats, which gives the ah sound, right?
Right.
You have to have the kamats underneath the yod to still get ya, the form ya. So originally, without the nikud, what did those letters give sound to? And you have them saying now, instead of hallelujah, they'll say halal, ooyah. And you still have the nikud underneath that, is giving that other pronunciation. And you have all these nikud that they still seem to be using, even though they don't realize they're using them. And they'll use the argument saying that the Greek upsilon is why they will say shalom and Torah and Yahoo or Yahoo, but they are not open to the other letters that like the letter Hey, which looks like our English E, is where the English E came from. So
Yeah. Let's see here. Let me continue. I'll try to go quick through some of this. So right here I say het. The standard pronunciation is a harder H consonantal sound, closer to a KH rather than a mere H. I say that's the slight difference. Mine is just a regular H, and I'm confident that's the correct one because of its correspondence exactly with the Greek and English letter. For Tzadi, the standard Jewish pronunciation is TS. This sounds like, it sounds so similar with mine as a like a j, and a j sounds very similar to z and a zia. You know, it sounds so similar. And then I said my identification of the sounds ZH and J for this letter parallels my identification of the sounds SH and X for that letter. I say S and T, or Shin and Tav, have two pronunciations that are standard: SHS and THT. So I say that means the original pronunciation of those two letters has to either be SH and TH or S and T. The Greek and Latin alphabets, as well as all alphabets derived from the Greek and Latin, preserve the S sound and T sounds rather than the SH and the TH sounds for those two letters. So I think that's strong evidence it's the original. And then I say S must have been later on pronounced as TH, like th, as I said earlier, Applethought with a TH, sounding like SH. And so TH sounding like SH came to supplement the S sound. The and sh came to supplement the S sound. This one right here, on the other hand, having the secondary sound of X, because remember I said it's SH and also X. X is like a X or a Tsia, Tsia, Tsia. And so I say the secondary sound must have lost its SH sound due to the SH sound being adopted by Shin. And T, Tav, must have later on been pronounced as a DH, like a the, and then it came to be pronounced as a th. Excuse me. So T can be pronounced as like a DH, the, and then TH, sounding like DH, the, came to supplement the T sound. Maybe it's a little bit confusing how I'm saying it. I'm trying to show how it changed, how it got switched. I say TH, on the other hand, having the thet, having the secondary sound of DH, the, originally must have lost its th sound due to the th sound being adopted by the letter T, and the sound sounding very close to T, because the and T sound very similar, must have been substituted by the T due to how close the T sound is with the sound. I say these observations are confirmed by the fact that the Greek alphabet and all alphabets derived from the Greek, which preserve the letters TH and SH, pronounce the TH as TH and the SH as like an X, C sound. So I say in support of the view that the original pronunciation may indeed be what I have said, the scholar Gesenius, whom I quoted from earlier, he's one of the most recognized of all scholars. He's not alive anymore, but he's one of the most famous Hebrew scholars, and his ideas of the Hebrew language are very trusted, or he's very respected for his ideas, and he's taken seriously. Now, he says the original value of Samek and its relation to the original value of Shin in both, those dots is still undetermined. So he's saying the original one is probably not what it is in the regular Hebrew. So that's a very striking admission right there. He's telling us an expert in Hebrew scholarship says the original value of these two letters is not clear. It's probably not the same necessarily as what Hebrew says it is. And then right here I say for B there are two Jewish pronunciations, B and V. All alphabets derived from the Greek alphabet and Latin alphabet pronounce this letter as B and never as V. And then I say when a syllable ends in a B sound, if you say it quickly or without strong emphasis, the B readily loses its strong value and slides into a V sound. However, the hard B, on the other hand, has much more in common with the P sound. So I've mentioned this to you before, like lobster. Right now, brother, try saying lobster, and now try saying lobster with a P.
Lobster and lobster.
It sounds like pretty much identical, right?
Yeah.
But now try to say lobster and lobster with a V.
Lobster and lobster.
The V, doesn't it sound pretty different?
Lobster, lobster. Yeah, sounds a bit different. Yeah.
And now do the same thing for the word after. Try to say after with an F, and then I'll try to say after with a V. After.
After.
Sounds like identical, right?
Pretty much. You just
After.
got kind of like a V there.
But now try to say after and apter with a P.
After.
The P is noticeably different, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
So that's why I think I say right here, I say they're virtually indistinguishable. V and F are almost not distinguishable, and the same thing for B and P. So I say what is less distinguishable is most likely to be associated with one another in its original form of pronunciation. Like basically, it's a harmony principle. The things that are closer to each other are more likely to be in the same group than things that are more distinct from one another. That's why I reason why I think the B and the P and the F and the V. Then I give some evidence historically from other languages. Have you heard of Grimm's Law?
Grimm's Law. No.
It's a linguistic law. It's an
No.
observation of different languages throughout Europe and other places.
I haven't heard of that. No.
It shows right here how the sounds change. It says B changes to P, changes to PH. And this is like a BH or something. I don't know what that is. That DH changes to D, changes to T, changes to TH. G changes to K, changes to X. And here's some examples from different languages. Foot, the word foot. These are all the same word, but in different languages, okay? So the same word, different languages. It's just different. You know how over time languages change the spelling? This is exactly what happened. So the word for foot in Greek is spelled with a P. Look right here. Podos, that's foot. It's spelled P-O-D. Here's it's F-O-T or F-O-O-T. Look right here. Latin, it's P-E-D, pedis, foot, P-E-D. Sanskrit is pada, P-A-D, foot, pat. And then Russian, pod, that's foot, pod. Lithuanian, peda. Latvian, peda. Now, look at here. It changed to foot. This is West Frisian, foot. Here's German, food, or like food. Gothic is fotus. Icelandic and Faroese is fotur. So it's fotur. Danish is fod. Norwegian and Swedish is fot. And here we've got three, the word for third, okay, third. We've got here in Greek, it's tritos. So it's like third, T-R-D, but it's T-H-R-D. Here it's T-R-T, tritos. Here Latin is tertius. Welsh, tridid. Sanskrit, treta. Russian, tretij. Lithuanian, I don't know if these pronunciations are correct, I'm just kind of guessing. Lithuanian, tretius. Albanian, treta. Now here, English, third with a TH. Old Frisian, threda. Old Saxon, thridio. Gothic, thridia. Icelandic, thrithyi. And Danish is tredje. It's all the same word, but the spelling change over time due to pronunciation differences. Here is dog, which is cane. Okay, cane. Greek, it's kuon. Latin is canis. Welsh is kun or he. Now in English, look at this. It's the same thing. H and K. Okay, they're similar. So it's the same word, but it's spelled with the H in English. Hound, Dutch. Hund, German. Hund, Gothic. Huns, Icelandic and Faroese. Hunder, Danish, Norwegian, Swedish. Hund. Then here, what? The word what in Latin. It is quod, quod. Irish, kad. Sanskrit, kad. Russian, like ko. Lithuanian, kas. English, we got what with W. Gothic is hwa. Icelandic, hwav. Faroese, hwat. Danish, hwad. Norwegian, hwa. Now here's another one, deep. Lithuanian, it's got dubus with a B. Now here it's a P. Deep. West Frisian, diep. Dutch, diep. Icelandic, djuper. Swedish, djup. Gothic, djups. And then there's like a couple, there's several more. 10. Latin is decum. Greek is deca. Irish is dech. Sanskrit is dasan. Russian is desiat. Lithuanian is decimt. English 10. So it's similar. Dutch tien. Gothic tehun. Icelandic tiu. Faroese tegju. Danish, Norwegian is ti, and Swedish tio for 10. Then cold in Latin is gelu. Greek is galandros. Lithuanian gelmenos, geluma, and then ginas. Right here we've got cold because C is similar to G, remember? And then K as well. Cold, kald, kud, kalt, kalder, cold, called, cal. It's all the same words there. And alive. We've got oh my bad, give us right here. I think that might be the quick one actually. Yeah. We've got quick, weak, quick, quake, kick, quease, quicker, quick, it's all like basically the same right here. Now this one's very interesting. This is brater, Sanskrit. Ancient Greek is frater. You've heard of fraternity? That's where it comes from. Then you've got right here, brother with a B. Broder, brother, and then broder. And then finally, for honey, in Sanskrit, you've got madhu. In Greek, you've got medhu. In English, you've got mead. East Frisian, mead. Dutch, mead. And then Danish, Norwegian, mjod. Icelandic, mjolder. And Swedish, mjod. But so anyway, you can see right there how over time the languages, it's the same word originally, but it radically differs in different dialect pronunciations. And I argue that's the same thing that happened in Hebrew. I think the original pronunciations was B and P, and then it changed over time, just like we've seen in these languages here.
So,
and I think what?
So what would you say to people then that say that Yah became yeah, that it was originally Yah and then it became yeah because of the Greeks?
I would say the Greeks are so far back. Like the Greeks got it very ancient time. So it seems like they preserved the correct, like a much older version of it. But then secondly, I was under understanding that they don't preserve yeah. I thought they preserved like a ya, a sound. Because remember they have a a Yoda, an Alpha, and a Omega as the divine name.
Mm-hmm.
And that looks like a Yao or something.
Yeah.
Which would mean more like a ah. So I don't see how they're coming up with the Greek, changing it into a yeah. I don't know. I don't think. It's the same thing with father. In English, it's father. In Greek and Latin, it's pater. Pater. And so it's the same type of thing. So that's why I think that it's these letters. So I don't know if you think that's compelling or not, but that shows that what I say is definitely possible linguistically. It's definitely possible because it happened with so many languages where these sounds get mixed up. We say brother. In the ancient Greek, it's frater. We say father. Ancient Greek and Latin, it's pater. So you can clearly see that there is some evidence that this did happen with many languages. So it could have happened with Hebrew and Aramaic and the dialects of Hebrew that are used today. So now I say this just leaves the pronunciation of the three remaining letters of the Hebrew alphabet, these ones. We've kind of already explained the origin of the at, e, and o sounds, but I think you're kind of wondering more about these sounds, the end.
Yeah.
So I say that the standard pronunciation of the Jews for hey is H, and I agree with them. Also, did you know this? According to the standard Hebrew pronunciation, these three letters are special guttural and aspirated sounds. Did you know that they say that?
No.
That's what they say. They say these are guttural and aspirated sound consonants. So it's like they say like g, g, that type of thing. And so now, as I said, the Jews, I said I agree with them that hey is a H, but I believe it's softer than what they're saying because its primary value is a vowel sound S. So I think it's more like a soft H. If it's a softer H, as I say, then het must be like a regular H and not like a kh sound. And it sounds strange too. The kh sound doesn't seem natural as much to me. Then it says, oh, and in the Greek, their eta, their H is an actual H. Like it's not like like a ch sound. So the Greek confirms my understanding of the.
Didn't they also have that letter as an E though too?
Yeah, they had like an A sound, like an eta, or like an I. They might have pronounced this kind of like an I sound, like it. So let's see here. I said they make H to be for. They give a stronger sound, H sound for both of these. I give it a softer sound for each of them. So I say that I think the hey is almost silent. So just like the words honorable, so honorable, our, herbs, it's all silent almost, but there's still an H there. It's sounded slightly. I say there is in fact the sound H in these words, but that sound is slight and approaches silence. This near silent letter best explains its absence in the alphabets derived from Greek and Latin. In other words, because hay's H sounds so soft, the Greeks did not really hear it well, and they didn't copy it. And they already had an H. So they just used this as the H, and they just decided to use this as an E because it was so soft, it was kind of hard to hear. So then I say the standard pronunciation of the Jews for ayin is as a guttural. I agree with them in the standard pronunciation. This pronunciation is best observed in the words Gomorrah and Gaza. Have you know those words, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gomorrah and Gaza. In Hebrew, those are spelled with an ayin. Did you know that?
Never heard that before.
Yeah, so it's not Omorah and Oza, it's Gomorrah and Gaza, or Get. So Gomorrah and Guza. with the ion. So that's evidence right there of like a g, like a gh type sound. And that leaves aleph. There's that kh sound that the het has, ch. But remember, I took it away from het. So now where else does it go? The only place it can fit is aleph, and as I said, the Jews say aleph has a guttural sound, and this is a guttural sound. And then I give some example in a little bit too of why that is. So now look, I say, however, what do we make of the vowel sounds for these three letters? In English, the vowel letters can have a surprising level of variation in sound value for each vowel letter. So I give examples. Example, the letter A in English can have the sounds of cat, all, same, Christian. 4 different sounds. The letter E can have let, her, ew, 3 different sounds. I in English can have machine, win, fine, 3 sounds. Letter O can have hope, love, stop, onion. So listen to that. O, ah, all O. So why should we say that iron should not be O? It clearly is O, but just like in English, sometimes later dialects use O for different sounds like this. It would be the same thing with iron. And oo, right there, we got tune and jump. So I say there are many other sound examples that illustrate variety in the English language. So then, this is true, what I say here. Originally, Old English had a narrow range of pronunciation for the vowel letters, but Middle English and Modern English developed a wider range of pronunciation. So also, the same thing has happened in all other languages. How the narrow pronunciation is the original, but later on dialects develop and people get slacking and lazy and start doing a wider pronunciation for the letters. So I say Hebrew is no exception. Despite the wide variety of vowels in all language developments, as compared to the original sounds, in all the other languages, the original sound and the letter identification is still always discernible immediately, such that no language, when pronouncing the letter A in any of its various ranges of pronunciation, thinks the letter A has any other sound or identity than the letter A. Why then would the Semitic languages be the only exception to this rule? Makes absolutely no sense. It is thus absolutely clear that the original identification of these 3 vowel letters are in fact A, E, and O. This explanation best explains the latter development or rise in variance of sound. Without a core original vowel value, the variation of vowel sound in these letters makes absolutely no sense. With the original core vowel values assigned, the differentiation is perfectly explainable and given a sufficient historical and linguistic context. So I say even now, when I spell my Hebrew name in English as O-N-I-E-H, I have some friends who pronounce it as, even though I tell them it's Onia, like O as a note, they keep hearing it or saying it as Ania, as an on and gone. So they're pronouncing my name O-N-I-E-H as Ania or Anaya, Anaya, Anaya. So does pronouncing the O letter as ah or on or make it a different letter than O? Of course not. So then, although later dialects of Hebrew pronounced a wide range of vowel letters produced a wide range of vowel letters to the letter ayin, this is no justification to say that this Hebrew letter's original identification and vowel value is anything other than A. And I say the original vowel sound value for these 3 letters is also preserved in most of the diphthongs of Greek and Latin. These are remember I told you the diphthongs earlier. This occurs in Latin and Greek. These diphthongs. A, E, I, E, I, O, I, and A, U all occur. And so this means that The only way for the diphthongs to work is if the I has the original sound of E, the A has the original sound of A, like A, and the E has the original sound of E, and O has the original sound of O, and U has the original sound of U. That's the only way that these diphthongs can work. So the diphthongs actually prove the original sounds, I believe. And I say my identification is in fact necessarily correct by virtue of natural laws of language and by virtue of cognate language development. Cognate means other languages which are doing the same thing. And then I say the letters U and E, or Wa and Yod, have in Greek and Latin and English the value of diphthong, as well as the value of doubling up a letter and consonant that it does in Hebrew. For example, the word patriarch, that word English in patriarch, even though it's spelled with one I only, you can clearly hear the Y sound as part of the letter, so that it's patriarch. Look over here, patriarch with E. You see that? I-Y? Patriarch. It sounds the exact same, but you can spell it with a Y and it doesn't change the sound. Patriarch. Yark. Same thing right here. Fluent. You can see it right here. Fluent with a W. Fluent. Fluent. Then you've got right here. Joanne, Joanne, Jeanne, and Jaon. These three names have two syllables, and when I believe this is the case, when you flow the syllables together, you can hear it produce a faint aspirated sound between those syllables in each case. So try saying Johan, Joanne. If you say it fast, it's like Jogan. But it's not like a hard G sound, but you can kind of hear a soft like Joanne, Gan, Gan. It's like a G sound, Gan, Joanne. And then the Jehan, Jehan, you kind of hear the H as well, Jehan. And then Jahan, like the A. If you say O, like listen to this right here. Oh. It's like, I don't know if you could hear that or not, but it's like a sound at the end. Oh. And then a eh. And then for A, it's ah. Hear that? Ah.
Yeah.
So oh, like a GH, oh. Eh, just like a regular H. And then like for the A, it's like a ah. And you kind of hear the KH very silent. It's almost silent at the end, but you can kind of hear it. Ah. So I think that those pronunciation sounds best explain the different rules. So I think the ah sound explains why the aleph sometimes is a KH. And that's why the ayin is sometimes a GH. Because it's like oh, like a oh. And the oh sound is naturally flowing from that vowel sound of GH. And that's why you've got Gomorrah in Hebrew, even though it's a O. And let's see here. I say it should be noted early on Wa developed, in addition to the W sound, the V sound. This WV sound was the original sound to the letter F, which originated in Greek. The Greek letter is called digamma and was used at an early period to distinguish the WV sound from the U sound. It looked like this. See this right here? That's the digamma right there. It looks exactly like an F. As I mentioned earlier, V and F are the closest sounds to one another, and they're basically indistinguishable. So I say it makes sense how the English letter F originated is, and how UW changed to VF. So U was originally, it was not UV as some try to argue. It was originally UW because digamma was originally W, and then digamma became a V, W became a V, and then the V became an F. And now, that's pretty much the pronunciation. There's some other rules about the alphabet, but I pretty much gave you all of the rules of like how to pronounce. So should we stop there for today?
If you want to, sure.
We can if you want, you can read the rest, or we can go through it again next time. I want to do at least another one in the future of basically pronouncing words throughout, like different Hebrew words, like going through different people's names and pronouncing them. We can do that maybe tomorrow if you want, or early. You want to try it tomorrow? Or maybe if you're busy, sometime next week or something.
Yeah, we could see. I'm not sure exactly in the morning, but I just wanted to pull up something real quick here because a question. If I still have the link here, I want to see if I still have it here. Yeah, I do. I want to quickly see if I can find on this link what I'm looking for too.
The what you sent earlier, Uyghur ensemble is not. That's not the gaze. I don't think.
Okay.
Let me check right now.
It's just loading really slow. What I'm looking.
Yeah,
what I'm trying
that's
to
Arabic.
right now.
That's like Arabic.
Okay, so just want to look here quickly for something here.
Is while you're looking for it, is what I said do you find it strongly compelling, or are there still things you're uncertain about it, or oh wait, there was one other thing. Wait, hold on. Where is it? Sound. I must not have covered that except near the end. There was one other thing I should have covered, and that's what to pronounce in between consonants, right? The let's see here. Oh, there were a couple other things to say. Should I go a little bit more then? I can skip some of this stuff, but I can go to the main thing.
Yeah. If you want to, you could go ahead. I'm just trying to look here for.
Okay, I'm gonna read a couple of the final things I was gonna say. What I should have said. So I say right here. Can you still see the screen?
Yes, I can.
All right. So in compounds, the letter resh can be added to facilitate a better flowing sound. For example, Abraham, also known as Abraham or Abraham, is a name composed of two different words joined together and thereby forming a compound. But the middle letter is there to flow the sounds. Resh is in the middle for flow of sound. If it was not there, it would be an awkward means of saying the two words. It would be like saying abem or apem. That sounds strange, doesn't it? Apem.
No.
First syllable ap, second syllable m. But with the R there, the resh, instead it's pronounced the first syllable a, second syllable brem. Adding an R in between compounds allows for an alteration of syllable emphasis and gives a meaning of flowing or discharging from the first part of the word. So Abram or Abraham was named that name because he was made into a father out of whom would flow or discharge a great multitude. And thus his name was Abram or Abram. This spelling was also chosen as an intentional play on words of Abram's original heathen name, Abram's original name, Abram. Jubilees tells us that Abram was named after his grandfather that had died, and his grandfather's name was Abram. Nahor, Abram's brother Nahor. People say it as Nahor, but it's Nahor. He was named after their other grandfather Nahor. And then their brother Aaron or Haran was named after the land of Haran, because that's probably where Terah's family came from, or Terah's. See there, Terah. And then Aaron named his daughter Milcah, which is the same name that his great grandmother's name was. Serug married a woman named Milcah. So we see a lot of the family names are being named similar here. Another one is Sarai. It's actually Suri. It should be Suri. Was changed to Sarah. Then I say, when pronouncing words are to be pronounced separately or distinctly from their prefixes and suffixes. So this word right here, can you see this word?
Yep.
I say it is not to be pronounced as 6 syllables. Don't pronounce it as etamilakanu. That sounds silly. Etamilakanu, right? Kind of like what you were talking about before of like how they say la shahwa hamyahwa thing. In the same way that like it doesn't make sense to say everything with the ah sound. In the same way, it doesn't make sense to give everything a sound in between. So saying etamilakanu doesn't make sense. It doesn't sound natural. Instead, pronounce it as 4 syllables. Etmilaknu. Etmilaknu. Then I say the following. This one right here is also to be 4 syllables. Tamilakin. Tamilakin. Because without the helping vowels, the sounds cannot coalesce. Try saying TM together. You can't. Tum. You can't. M and L together. You can't. You need a vowel in between. And then I say, when 2 consecutive consonants come together, one of 2 vowel sounds should be added, either I as in fig or ah as in coleslaw. In any word, the sound pronunciation focuses and centers on the first instance in which 2 consecutive consonants come together. In that instance, I is to be pronounced between the 2 consonants. I came to the conclusion it should be I because I looked throughout Hebrew and other dialects, and I saw that the shorter sound is usually the first one that comes in the root. It's usually like the shorter, like an E sound, like a quick sound, and then later comes like a, like a longer sound, ah. So I reasoned that the shorter sound should usually be the one that comes first in the consecutive sounds, in the roots. So I say in any word, the sound pronunciation focuses and centers on the first instance in which 2 consecutive consonants come together. And that instance is to be pronounced between the 2 consonants. And then starting from the sound of I, all surrounding instances of 2 consonants that are consecutive alternate between the I and ah sound in order. Thus, in the word right here, TMLKN, the sound is to be as follows. The first 2 consecutive consonants are ML, and therefore it is to be pronounced mill. And then the 2 adjacent instances of 2 consecutive consonants are the beginning of the word, tav, mem, because tav is not part of the word, it's a prefix, tav. So it should not be Tim, but it should be Tom. And then right here, because it's the second part of the word, it's lock. It should be lock. So these are to be pronounced respectively as Tom and lock, since it must alternate to the ah sound on both sides. Because if you say everything I or everything ah, it doesn't sound good. Like if you say for Sabbath, if you say Shibbet, I'm going to Sibbet today, or Shibbet, it sounds strange. Similar if you say Sabbat, I'm going to go to Sabbat today. Sounds weird. If you say Sibbat, that sounds natural. If you say Sabbat, that still sounds strange, but at least it sounds better. Sabbat. But Sabath sounds very natural to the Semitic Hebrew language. If you say for the king, Milak, or they say Melech, but they don't say Milik, or Malak. They don't usually say that. They say Malak for the pagan god, but otherwise they don't usually say stuff like that. So let me see here. In the final instance, it should be kin, because as I said, you can't have the two sounds in a row, I and I in a row in two syllables. So it has to always alternate between I and ah, I think. That's my thoughts on that. I say the sounds I. Wait, I say right here, two consecutive consonants are not to have a vowel sound in between if the two consonants are each from two different roots in a compound name, or if the two consecutive consonants are not part of the root. The sounds I and ah are only added in the roots because without them the consonants cannot be pronounced. But in the cases of consonant prefixes and consonant suffixes being adjacent to the consonants of the root word, if the consonants cannot be pronounced without a vowel in between, then either an I or an ah sound must be added. But if the consonant can be pronounced as part of a syllable that excludes the root word, then it does, and no vowel sound is to be added. This is why this right here is et milaknu, because the initial T can be pronounced with the preceding letter. You don't have to say etama or etamilaknu, because the T can be joined with the S sound. But for this word, there is no E preceding the T. So now all you have is a TM. You need a thing in between to flow them together. So it's tamilakin. And also right here, et milaknu, it's not milakinu, because N is followed by an U, so it can have its own syllable. But right here, there is no U. It's just after K, it's an N. So in order to pronounce that, you have to have an extra vowel sound there, and that's the going back and forth between the I and ah sound. And then I say, if a root has a noun as a noun a gender or number suffix, when possible, the letter is to be combined in sound with the preceding letters. Usually this occurs with the plurals. So I say right here, instead of saying Rephaim, you've heard of the Rephaim?
Rephaim, I think so.
Yeah, they're like Nephilim kind of. It should say right here, Revaim, not Rivakim. You don't need to say Rivakim. You just say Revaim, 2 syllables. Similarly, right here, Alahim. Do you say Alahim? No, it would be better to say Alaim. But as I said, there's evidence that there should actually be a wa there, so it should be Aluaim, instead of Aluahim. I've never heard in Hebrew any sound of Aluahim. That sounds really like the nonsense. Aluahim no one says it like that. But Aluaim, that sounds very similar to Elohim. Elohim. See how similar that sounds? Right here, Roim instead of Rogim. And then right here, you've heard of Sebayot.
Yeah.
Sebayot, it's hosts. It should be Jebaut instead of Jebakut. Jebaut. And then right here, I say Gebut, or not Gebut, Gebut, instead of Gebehut. And right here, this is weeks. This is weeks or sevens. Instead of saying Sibogut, Sibogut. It's just Sibout. Not Sibout. It's Sibut. Sibut. That's how I'd say it. And then this principle also occurs with the feminine suffix t. You know the words for son in Hebrew is bin, right?
What's that?
The word for son in Hebrew is bin.
Yeah.
The word for daughter in Hebrew is bit. And why is that? Because there's actually evidence based on other languages, all other Semitic languages, Aramaic and Arabic, for example. It does not say bit in those languages. They say BNT. There's an N because it's a BN. Son is BN and daughter originally in the original Hebrew was BN. T, BNT. But try saying bint, bint, bint.
Bint.
The N starts sounding very soft and almost as if it was a silent letter. Bint. It sounds like you're saying BT, bit, when you say it fast. Bit. If you say bint, 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 it sounds like you're saying BT. And so over time, the original sound was bint, but it came to be pronounced bit, and so they removed the N. And that's why Hebrew has it as bit, but all other Semitic languages have it as bint. And this happens in other words too, and that's why in plural in the plural of daughters it's benut, because it's still from the same word, benut. This happens in other words, like in Hebrew for two you see sanim, and sani, but you also see in Hebrew sitim and sati. It's the same word, but different. It's feminine. And why is that? Because the original, as it is the case in Aramaic, it was sinti and sintim. But over time, the N became silent and was removed. And also in Hebrew, the second person pronouns are spelled at, but in Arabic and Aramaic and Ethiopian, I think, it's ant. There's an N there, which shows that the actual the second person pronoun comes from this root an rather than at. Same thing that happens in Hebrew with echad. You've heard of echad?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is actually I believe originally pronounced as kihad.
Okay.
But in the feminine of it, the feminine version of that word is with a tav, a T instead of a D, because it was spelled like this in original Hebrew, achit, with a D and a T sounding the same, a DT, like try say ODT, ot. It's like you can hear the D and the T, but it's kind of like combines together, ot. In the same way, right here, here's what we have: kihad. The D and the T combine, and they just sound. Later people speaking Hebrew just decided to spell it as a T instead of a DT. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, we see example of extra letters which have been removed in later Hebrew, like when you make a word first person future singular, you add an aleph in most words, but in Hebrew for MR, the word to speak or say, they don't add an aleph in regular Hebrew, but in the original Hebrew they did. And in the Dead Sea Scrolls, you see that sometimes. The reason they took it out was because they thought two A's in a row seemed unnecessary, and you could just remove the one A, and the one A they would be understood to be both. And they did the same thing for other letters too, like they did the same thing for Yod and Waw sometimes, and same thing for Tav. And you see in reflexive verbs, there's a tense in verbs that's reflexive. You see it also in the Dead Sea Scrolls, where sounds change. If it says if a verb begins with a S or a summit, it is a reflexive. Wait, hold on. Okay, so instead of et being prefixed as ets or etch, it changes. So when you have a word like, okay, like let's say Sabbath, et Sabbath. Okay, like basically it means rest yourself. Okay, et Sabbath. How you spell that is not, you do not spell it as et Sabbath. You spell it in Hebrew as estibat. Estibat. The S changes places. Same thing with Samic. It changes places. We find this in Hebrew and in the Dead Sea Scrolls. In the regular Bible, we find this too. Same thing. Not the same thing, but with Zion right here. Instead of etz, etz for reflexive, like remember, the verb remember is zikar. So remember yourself. Instead of saying et zikar, you would say ezdikar with the D dot. I'm not making this up. This is actually what happens in Hebrew, in the rules according to the Hebrew language. And then same thing with jida. With zadi. You know the word righteous, to make yourself righteous. It's zadak. If you say et zadak with the zadi, the et is reflexive, so you make yourself righteous. But instead of saying et jidak, you say ej thadak with a th, ej thadak. And then finally, if a verb begins with a t, a d, or a th, then you find it instead of et whatever, the t is removed. So you have et, ed, and eth instead of ett, etd, and etth. That's what happens and you also see in the Bible that they take vowel letters out, and replace it with vowel marking sometimes. You find that a lot in the Torah. Like, see right here, Genesis 1:14. Right here, you can see marut and latut. In the Samaritan Hebrew, you see it as with the wa there. See the was, but they took out the was and put the vowel marks there instead. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you this time. I think we should end it, but was there one other thing you wanted to show me?
If you wanted me to just send you stuff and you could answer me through Skype, that's fine too.
Sure, that'd probably be better. And then we can, if you want, we can continue next week or tomorrow or something.
Okay, yeah.
All right. I mean, in another video if you want. So.
All right, sounds good.
All right, shalom, brother. Talk to you in a little
peace.
while. All right, peace. Bye.
Bye.